We are at the point in the agenda where we are going to have a public hearing on a sign complaint. I will read the following into the record. We are here today to hear information concerning a complaint regarding the political signs of Mr. Gent. The hearing was set by the board at a prior meeting. Public notice of this meeting has been provided. This matter is being recorded, and I am requesting that the county clerk please ensure that the audio recording of these proceedings are maintained as part of that record. Mr. Conrad, can you please explain the notice of these proceedings that were provided to each of the candidates?
Thank you. We have provided notice in certified mail and regular mail to the candidate himself with the sign, Mr. Jack Gent. Also provided notice to the other individuals who filed the complaint, Mr. Don Kraft as well as Jennifer Klug. So the three of them got notice of the hearing today so that they can bring forward information that they have. There may be others that also would like to come forward on the complaint. As of this morning, I can note that the certified mail was not picked up by Mr. Gent, but we didn't get the regular U.S. mail service returned to our office. So I believe that the service has been good.
Okay. At this time, I'll call forward anyone who intends to speak on the issue regarding these yard signs. And would you like to go first?
Actually, if you can have everybody who intends to speak, just go ahead and have them.
All right, if you'll stand, if you intend to speak on this issue, I'd ask you to stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Right, state your name for the record,
Jennifer
please.
Klug, K-L-U-G, 200 Franklin Street, Town of Porter. Sorry, drop it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Thank you for making us copies. That's very good.
You're welcome. It's fine. March 31st, 2023, to the Porter County Election Board from Jennifer Klug. Indiana Code 393-2.5 states about disclaimers on election-related material, and part of this reads, it's attachment 1 on the second page. This section applies whenever a person, 1, makes an expenditure for the purpose of financing communications expressly advocating the election or defeat of a clearly identified candidate, or solicits a contribution through a newspaper, a magazine, an outdoor advertising facility, a poster, a yard sign, a direct mailing, or any other type of general public political advertising. For purposes of this section, a candidate is clearly identified if any of the following apply. The name of the candidate involved appears, a photograph or drawing of the candidate appears, the identity of the candidate is apparent by unambiguous reference. A communication described in subsection B must contain a disclaimer that appears and is presented in a clear and conspicuous manner to give the reader or observer adequate notice of the identity of persons who paid for and, when required, who authorized the communication. A disclaimer does not comply with this section if the disclaimer is difficult to read or if the placement of the disclaimer is easily overlooked. That's attachment A. I became aware that Town of Porter Town Council candidate Jack Gent's yard signs didn't have disclaimers on them. I had a conversation with Laura Madigan about this. I said I was going to file a complaint. She had communicated with the election board. She forwarded an email to me with pictures of his signs. I emailed Becky Roush, and I also sent her a separate email stating I want to make a complaint. She emailed me back that my complaint was received and will be relayed to the election board. See attachment 2 for these documents. The hearing on my complaint and the complaint of another individual was set for March 31st, 2023. In the meantime, several individuals stated that someone put disclaimers along with a sticker with a union bug on Gent's signs. I asked Laura if she had pictures of the signs with and without the disclaimer. She sent me pictures. She said the first signs were posted as early as, and other people said that too, March 22nd, 2023, and the sticker was added on or around March 23rd, 2023. See attachment 3. I think it was earlier than 3/22, I'm sorry. No, it was earlier than one day. It was earlier than one day. So if you look at attachment 3, yeah, I think that's an error, because it was more than one day, because I had conversations with people, and there was a number of days. I apologize for the error, but that shows the signs with and without the disclaimer. So I think it may have actually been a couple of weeks, because I remember looking and seeing them and thinking, wait a minute, but I didn't have time to stop and stand on a public sidewalk and look at private property. Elected and appointed officials, as well as candidates, should hold themselves to higher standards than others. They should know campaign laws and follow them. There's a lot of information out there about this. Thank you. I really do feel that, I think that that's a printing error, because it was more than one day, and I know there were several people that had told me that they had, Brian Finley was one of them, that he saw those signs, and he said, well, there's no disclaimer on it. That was like maybe a week or so before. So that is a printing error, so it probably was several weeks before somebody actually put disclaimer stickers on them. And, you know, the classes you have and everything that you have for the candidates and all the information available, it's not rocket science. I know a lot of people that have campaigned, and over the years I've done a lot of helping with people, and it's not a rocket science to say you need a disclaimer. Thank you. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Questions? No?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning.
Morning.
State your name for the record, Susan.
Morning, my name is Don Kraft. I am a councilman on the Town of Porter Town Council, as well as running for election for this spot. I also have a picture of Jack's sign without any endorsement about who it's paid for. I have copies if any of you need them. As to the date that Jennifer stated, I know for a fact that the signs were posted before March 14th, because at the council meeting on March 14th, there was conversation there about these signs. If I may, I also want to kind of speak about the other issues that Jack has presented on Facebook. He's misled voters and citizens about the actions of the town council and previous town council meetings. I have a testament of that from other council people, and if you would like that, I can hand that to you as well. But this sign is just one issue in this campaign. There's been other issues. I just wanted to bring this to your attention, because I think it's the correct thing to do. So, anybody have any questions for me?
Well, I think I would state that what Mr. Gent says or doesn't say in social media, I don't think is purview to this board. It's not stated anywhere that I could find in the regs that we had any jurisdiction over that kind of thing. I think that's, you take it up maybe with party. So
Yes, sir.
I think we understand the question related to the signs. That's definitely in our purview. So I don't know, I'll open the floor. Does anybody else have any further comments on these signs? Is it your understanding this has been rectified? Mr. Gent's not here. What would you say? You live in town.
I did see where Mr. Gent has put stickers on his signs, and I was going to inform him today that some of those stickers have washed off or fallen off, so he needs to be aware of that and check his signs again. So,
Were you aware of some purple signs also from Jack Gent around Leroy's on Route 20 that went up about 20 days ago, 30 days ago, about a foot by a foot in diameter?
those signs are still there today.
That look different. This looks like a blue sign. It's not the purple sign I think I saw next to Leroy's.
The signs are actually purple. When printing the signs, in the photograph, they do come out a little bit blue. I'm not sure as to if there's what that is, but the signs are purple in color.
Both his parents ran on purple signs 20 years ago, so I think he's adopted his parents' colors.
They're also Chesterton colors, so I understand those colors.
Anyone else with questions regarding this? So, as I understand this, the signs began to be remedied by 3/23. And the first known example was on or about 3/14 that the signs started to appear without the disclaimer.
They had appeared before 3/14, but there was conversation that I could document on 3/14 about them.
Okay. And do we think Mr. Gent is the one that's out trying to remedy his signs? Do we know who's putting these stickers on? Is he making an effort to comply?
I have not spoken to Mr. Gent in several weeks.
And you're talking to him several weeks ago. Was he aware of the hearing today? Could you tell, or did you discuss that?
Actually, I have not talked to Jack Gent since previous to 3/14, so I have no idea whether he was aware of the hearing or not. I can state that I received my letter in the mail, and I also had my certified copy picked up.
So the notice of hearing, we had a meeting, was it last Thursday?
I think so, yeah.
The 23rd. And so I immediately sent out the letter the following day, either on the 23rd or the 24th. So I sent that letter out by certified mail and regular mail. I know I did hear from Mr. Kraft that he received it. And I believe
I received
You
mine, so I
received your letter, too?
That one, and the one in the regular mail, and I went and got the certified one.
Do you remember when you received them? Like, was it yesterday?
I probably have the date of those, I just didn't check when they received theirs. But I
But
think
it was enough days' notice for them to be aware of it.
it was enough days, no, they would have received it and had at least an opportunity to contact, your office, contact me.
The office also sent a courtesy call. We discussed calling the candidate about return.
So you guys made a courtesy call as well. So I believe that the notice of hearing was valid, even if there was some kind of conflict for today or this morning. I would have expected Mr. Gent to at least to have called or contacted to say, hey, listen, I have a conflict because of whatever, and we could have looked to reschedule that. I know that the board has been rather gracious in continuing when people have a conflict, but we have gotten no response from Mr. Gent on this.
Well, Well, given that Mr. Gent's not here to tell us whether or not he's taken care of all of his signs or not, there are examples where he tried, but we don't know that he's done all of them. I mean, nobody's here to testify that he's fixed all of his signs. And he's not here, so do we find that because we don't know he's fixed them, he hasn't fixed them?
At this time, you have to go on the evidence that you have before you this morning.
Well, the evidence would suggest, at least by testimony and some pretty bad signs, that he came up with some system of putting a disclaimer on the sign. So
Are
he's,
there still some signs without a disclaimer?
that's what we don't know, right? I mean,
Yeah, I believe some of the stickers have fallen off. That's what I have seen. I did not take a picture of it this morning, but I will attest that I believe he did try to rectify the situation, even though he posted the signs originally incorrectly.
Unless I'm missing something, it doesn't say that we don't penalize after rectification has been made. It just says,
Well, if it continues to be non-compliant, then he has it. I mean, he would have an obligation to make sure that they are compliant, remain compliant.
at one point in time, the disclaimer was not there, so it was not presented in a clear or conspicuous manner.
that is correct. And then when informed, how do you believe it is that he realized he needed to do something with the disclaimer?
I'm unaware of.
Do we know how he learned that? If you want to speak, you got to come in, get on the record, I'll swear you in.
I didn't swear I wasn't planning to, but I know some of these answers.
All right. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
State your name for the record, please.
Laura Madigan, 523 North First Street in Porter. March 11th was the first day that I saw his signs out. So March 14th is when one of our regular council meetings happened. And that's when someone, not on the council, but someone else had noticed first that they did not have the disclaimer. And that's when I went out and took pictures of it. And then a few days later, I cannot say the exact date, but probably that weekend, most of the changing events happened on a Saturday or Sunday, right? So they were first put out on a Saturday or Sunday. Then the following weekend was when Mr. Gent emailed, I believe, each member of the council saying that there were other political signs that were in the easements, in the public easements, and he wanted to have them corrected or addressed. And one of the council members responded, okay, yours are in the easement too, and also they're illegal and do not have the disclaimer. And that was Brian Finley's response. So I want to say that was the following Sunday, if you look at it. It was Sunday that he sent those emails out. I waited until Monday to respond personally, but I believe Mr. Finley responded that evening. And I don't think there's any reason to believe that he was not the one responsible. But I believe he had about a week's notice where he knew that they were non-compliant, and it took him about a week to get the stickers on. I believe that the proper legal thing to do would be to remove the signs immediately once you realized that they were illegal, and then replace them once they were corrected. He replaced them the day after these complaints were filed. So I believe that some of the adjacent actions to the printing of the sign speak to disingenuous intentions. which the only reason that I believe that's relevant is because I believe that the spirit of this particular law is made for the purpose of protecting the voting public from intentional misinformation by a candidate or elected official for their own political purposes and gain, right? So I think that even his fix, while the union bug is not under your purview, all pro-union voters and union members that vote recognize that symbol as identifying the product that it was produced in a union shop. His signs never had that on there, and we can assume why, right? But then his fix includes a union bug, which means that the average passerby glances at it, sees the bug, and assumes, oh yeah, this is a pro-union candidate. So I believe that even his fix is disingenuous. I know that Mr. Kraft.
I hate to interrupt, but
Yeah.
disingenuous, I think, politics are disingenuous. And I think,
But does that mean that's acceptable?
I think
It's not of the purview of the election board.
it's not,
I- okay.
it's
I
not
understand
up
that.
to us to decide that, is the point that I was going to try to share with you.
Yes, sir.
Those are the kinds of things that parties take care of internally. They're not the types of things that the election board can stick its nose into, frankly, I'll put it that way.
Understood.
So it's helpful to understand the dates that you shared with us. It gives us sort of a view. And I'm of a mind, what my brain is telling me is that he tried to rectify it, but he should have known as a candidate what the rules were, and he put the signs out in an illegal fashion.
And when he
So-
was notified, did not immediately.
What remedy we seek towards that is up to the board, I think, here.
I think that the question you all have to sort through is whether or not all the signs are now compliant or not, or continue to be compliant or not.
But we don't know that answer to that question.
Yeah,
So
I
I
can't.
think the board, the only thing that we could do at this point is we had suggested, when it comes to these issues, a cease and desist regarding the signs that don't have a disclaimer and don't comply. We can give him 14 days to rectify the issue of compliance on all the existing signs. If he fails to do that, then we can always then refer the matter to the county prosecutor for violation of the campaign sign law. But that at least, since he's not here we don't know if they've all been fixed or if there's still some out there that don't have a disclaimer, or if a disclaimer fell off, as Mr. Kraft has suggested.
Right.
So I think about the only thing we can do based on, since he's failed to appear, is we default him that he's definitely in violation of the campaign sign law, but we'll give him the opportunity to correct it, since there seems to be some indication, even by the complainants, that he's trying to fix the issue. We just don't know whether he's done that, and since he's not here, we don't know if he's
There's no
done it
way
or
to
not.
know.
So I think if you give him 14 days, say, look, you get this fixed. If you don't, we're going to refer it to the county prosecutor, and then we'll let the county prosecutor decide what further measures of fining and disciplinary action are necessary.
Well, in addition to that, I would recommend at least some type of a civil penalty. That was stated at the last meeting, from my understanding, that we're going to start a minimum fine for campaign finance reports, because it's taking a lot of due diligence in order to have these hearings and send out the mailings and get our attorney involved. I would hate to see us travel down the road of having to go back and start fining people when they're very well aware as a candidate that you have to have a disclaimer. So if he was here, he could argue that. From my understanding, he's chosen not to be here if everyone else received their letters. So I don't think we need to be in the process of rescheduling hearings because people decide not to show up.
I'm not suggesting we have another hearing at all. If there's a further complaint after 14 days that they're still not in compliance, then we don't have a hearing. It just gets referred directly to the county prosecutor for further investigation, and he can deal with the criminal action at that point.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to pulled back up, and I'm not sure if the board is the one that can fine for the, or if that would be under the criminal code. I'm not sure about the election board having the ability.
Well, it's two separate sentences.
I think the board can, in fact,
Yeah,
impose a
it
civil
says a penalty of a Class A misdemeanor up to a $5,000 fine or a year in jail. That's the IC code.
Yep.
And then a civil penalty of up to $1,000 may be imposed for a disclaimer that is not presented in a
Yeah.
clear and conspicuous manner.
Okay, like that code would suggest that would be within the election. This code here, 31411, would be for the
For the criminal.
criminal court.
3-9
3-9, which is still under the election code.
should be the election board.
Let me check that.
That's why I think that real fucking is what So Jessica, do you have a suggestion on a fine amount, if you want to follow the civil penalty?
Becky, about how many hours have you put in?
If the board determines, yeah, if the board has the ability to do that.
Corresponding back and forth, we
Yeah, it is within the board's.
not set minimum yet, but
Thank you. Yes.
How many hours have you put in? Few hours. Monica, how many hours have you put in?
I would say there's probably about getting the notices out, conversation, I think, with the complainants, I would estimate about an hour and a half. So,
So maybe $200? $500? Half of what the civil is? 500?
I don't think there's any history that suggests we fined someone for their signs. And at the same time, we're trying to change how people view the work of the election board and running in an election. So I'm not at all happy that Mr. Gent decided he didn't have to be here. I think that a monetary fine just, again, to begin the process of making people, candidates and their campaigns, understand there are rules. And beyond rules, there are laws, and they have to comply. And so while I don't want to hurt this guy, I don't know his situation, I would say $50 is adequate until we understand better what it actually costs us to engage in this kind of thing, to send a message to Mr. Gent and to future candidates about paying attention to the laws that govern running in an election. So I will so motion that and give them as well 2 weeks to comply if they are in non-compliance.
I think Member Baines
I would
does.
counter that the minimum should be no less than $250. He failed to appear. That's his biggest, I think that's his biggest error at this point. We don't know if he's done it. I mean, we've got indications, but again, that's, the complainants are the ones providing the information, which they,
Right.
you know, they didn't have to do that, and they did, they were honest. And that goes to Mr. Gent to defend him, but at the same time, he's not here. So, a default in my world is a big deal, and a judge would know that as well. So I would propose $250 to cover our costs that we've incurred in being here today. The complainants have shown up, and so I think $250 is more warranted, and he does have the 14 days to get this rectified. And if he fails to do, like I said, then I think we turn it over to the prosecutor, and they can, if they want to continue to fine at that point, then that'll be the prosecutor's choice.
Further comment? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all.
Thank you.
I feel bad, but
No, I agree.
But I know-
As a party chairman, I actually say thank you because the amount of extra work we all end up having.
Judge Chittester, are we adjourned?
Complaints and then deal with.
Yeah, you'll have to
stupid,
make a motion to
which
adjourn
is
too.
stupid.
Are we adjourned?
Yeah.
Judge, you've run plenty of.
Other business before this board? Other business today before this board? Seek a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.